IOPP Director of Education, and welcome to our final webinar of 2016, and a very special one it is. Today we're focusing on e-commerce and the ramifications for packaging, an area that's growing very rapidly. And I did some checking before we came online today, and a pair of research reports indicate that e-commerce currently accounts for about $1.3 trillion in the global retail market, and that's forecast to nearly double to $2.5 trillion by 2018. So wow, that's just 2 years away, and what fantastic growth. So I know we're all really looking forward to the insights that will be shared today. Today's webinar is a special partnership between IOPP and ISTA, the International Safe Transport Association. So welcome to not only our IOPP members, but our non-member guests, and also a special welcome to our guests from ISTA. We hope you enjoy this presentation and will consider joining IOPP as a member and taking advantage of all the benefits we have to offer. So as we begin our presentation today, I'd like to take just a quick moment to acknowledge and thank our benefactors at IOPP who are shown on your screen. They've been instrumental in their support of IOPP's education mission, which includes not only this webinar, but also our training programs. Many of them have been with us for the past 15 years since we began the benefactor program. I hope you'll find opportunities to take advantage of their products and services where possible, and also to thank them when the opportunity arises for their support of IOPP. So now on to today's presentation, in which we'll get a better understanding of e-commerce and packaging's journey in it, and the whole matter of the consumer experience. We have two presenters today. AJ Gruber is president of ISTA, and Brent Nelson is Senior Manager, Worldwide Packaging Sustainability at Amazon.com. As we begin the presentation, a reminder, as always, that any questions you may have for either of our speakers, please type them into the questions field on your screen during the presentation. And near the end of the hour, we'll get to as many of them as time allows. And a note to our IOPP members on the line that if you're a premium or an elite member, you can access the rebroadcast of this presentation afterward by using your member logon at IOPP.org. For the ISTA members on the line today, you'll be able to access the rebroadcast through the ISTA staff. They'll be providing you a link on demand. So just for clarity, the rebroadcast is the recording of the event, but the slide deck itself will not be shared. So I think I've covered all of the housekeeping matters, and I'll get out of the way now so we can begin. AJ, you're going to lead us out, and then Brent will follow. So AJ, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Jim, and good afternoon to everyone, and thanks for joining on today. As Jim mentioned, my name is AJ Gruber. I'm with the International Safe Transit Association, or ISTA. Hopefully, most of you are familiar with ISTA and what we do, but for those of you that aren't, I want to start by providing a quick overview. We are a nonprofit trade association, and we're focused on the specific concerns of transport packaging. So our vision as an association is to provide the global supply chain with confidence that they have the best package possible for their given supply chain. And we work to optimize the economic, social, and environmental impact of packaging systems used throughout the world. Currently, we have over 1,200 company and student members in 41 different countries. We are an ANSI accredited standards developer. We have 22 active standards. They vary in complexity and for different distribution environments, etc. And we also offer certification programs for laboratories, packaged products, and packaging professionals, as well as educational programming focused on transport package design, package testing, and distribution environments. So that's a little background on ISTA and what we do. For today, I'd like to start by taking a look at the retail supply chain and the progression that's kind of transformed the retail supply chain over the last 40 years. And This might be common knowledge to some on this webinar, but it does help to gain a better understanding of the challenges that the current omni-channel systems are presenting to packaged products of today and packaging professionals at large. And it's kind of interesting to take a look at. So if you go back to the 1970s, 1970 is actually when Walmart opened their very first distribution center. And stores were typically still stocked by vendor direct shipments and wholesalers, but that shift towards centralizing distribution systems was underway. And obviously, with the direct store replenishment, there were very few touch points involved. As we moved into the 1980s and throughout the 1980s, the hub and spoke system approach became a common practice, so adding additional touch points. And then moving into the 1990s, that's when the trend of global sourcing and warehouse club type stores emerged. And of course, at the time, both of these developments created new hazards for packaged products to withstand. The difference in transport environments between kind of this traditional retail store set up in the warehouse club stores eventually led to the creation of ISTA 6 Sam's Club about a decade later, for those that are familiar with that test procedure. So this traditional retail setup has been around for quite some time, and in large part, its hazards are relatively well known. We are seeing some newer handling systems come about. Not even, I don't know if I'd still consider it newer, but clamping as an example is becoming more and more prevalent every year and does present significant challenges to packaging engineers, especially if you're designing packaging and you don't have an understanding that it's going to be clamped by whoever is going to be handling your package. Lots of companies over the years have developed experience-based tests, and they utilize these internally to validate packaging performance prior to shipment. And this may present some challenges moving forward because it could be difficult to adapt these experience-based type tests to omni-channel systems, just because there is a lack of experience in moving product to the consumer through these formats. A lot of that taking place towards the end of its journey. But there are several industry tests standards that have been developed with a focus on brick and mortar retail, such as ISTA 3E, ISTA 3K for fast-moving European goods, 6 Sam's Club, and ASTM 4169 are all examples of testing for this more traditional retail approach. These general simulation tests all have a good track record and have historically been effective tools to help companies design for that environment. But as we move into the 2000s really brought the emergence of e-commerce as a channel, and of course that offered new touch points and obstacles for products to navigate. And I will mention that these diagrams or maps that I'm putting on the screen don't truly capture the extent of the handling that's experienced by the products throughout these channels, but it visually demonstrates the avenues that a product can take to the consumer. And I know Brent will be offering much greater detail on exactly what the Amazon shipping system entails directly following my few minutes here. And then looking at today, really 2010 and beyond, we're seeing this continued e-commerce growth at an astounding rate. And Jim touched on that briefly with his intro leading into this, but just really showing no signs of slowing down, and it's really growing at a much faster rate than we saw some other retail stores emerge, such as the club store, right? That sort of evolved over several years, but at a much slower rate than what we're seeing with e-commerce. In addition, traditional brick and mortar stores are adapting to make shopping more convenient to the consumer, and they're also aiding in moving product for e-commerce. So now we're seeing many stores offer curbside pickup. Delivery lockers are becoming more and more common for retailers as well as carriers. I think just about everybody has seen a segment or video talking about drones and how drones can be used for delivering goods. Obviously, Amazon is exploring some options there, but it's not just Amazon. You know, there's obviously a lot of carriers and other companies that are looking at drones for delivery as well. Ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft are even getting in on the action now, and in some instances are delivering product to consumers. And we're seeing retail stores even acting as warehouses for fulfilling e-commerce orders from their own stock. So a lot of different scenarios and situations that can be presented to a package and a product. So what kind of impact does this have on package design? With today's evolution of this kind of cross-channel business model focused on customer experience, let's take a look at the impact that this evolution could have on package and product design as we move forward, because it could fuel some key changes to the way we look at packaging and the way we're currently designing. As we just discussed, there's been a significant increase in complexity of supply chains, and that's primarily being driven by technology and a focus on customer experience. And for the most part, all of these new consumer delivery chains increase the handles and vibrations seen by packaged goods. I think a lot of us know that, right? We need to keep in mind that the diagrams that I showed were primarily North American centric and look at the supply chain progression from that viewpoint. It doesn't take into account some of the unique attributes and challenges found in varying markets across the globe. There might be some similarities, but when you look at a lot of emerging markets, there are some other challenges that are presented as well. And most of the time that translates into higher density levels and more exposure to hazards. And while this whole evolution and progression was underway, cost reduction and sustainability initiatives have driven really efforts to lightweight packaging. Obviously, and these are incredibly worthy business cases and will continue to be so as we move forward. So those pursuits obviously won't change. But as the complexity of our supply chains continues to grow and our packaged products are exposed to more and more unique hazards, I think we do need to acknowledge that packaging that has been completely optimized for distribution to traditional brick and mortar retail storefronts cannot simply be shipped through these new environments with expected success. The cost saving and sustainability gains that have been realized through this optimization for traditional retail are at risk of being lost through these new channels from damage. If you look at package types and how they correlate to the product design process as a whole, well, traditionally the primary packaging is considered early in the process during the scoping stages. The secondary packaging is considered mid-process due to the presence that it provides to the product on the retail shelf, and transport packaging is taken into consideration at the very end of the design process. Distribution testing as well is typically performed at the end of the design process. And at times this can create issues and result in compromised decisions because there's no time to properly redesign the protective packaging should you not see the results that you wanted, right? So you have to live with what the result is because you don't have time to react. And it's been a long time goal for packaging professionals to move this whole package design process up in the product design process. And typically, packaging professionals have achieved this in two ways. The first is that the packaging is functional, right, or it needs to be considered as part of the product. And the second is that packaging is used as a marketing tool to drive that purchase intent. The continued growth of e-commerce presents, I think, a likely opportunity to alter some of this in the traditional design process because it could move packaging further up because it can't continue to be considered an afterthought in the whole grand scheme of things, right? As you might imagine, the reasons for this are pretty straightforward and primarily focused around the consumer's formation of a direct relationship with the transport packaging. Right? Retail stores are no longer serving as an intermediary to filter out transport packaging and waste involved there, but also product that was damaged in transit. So this role has now been assumed by the consumer or the customer. And this change can have a huge impact on brand image and the customer's relationship with the brand. In addition, consumers are now forced to dispose of all levels of packaging, not just primary and secondary. So as more and more municipalities move to a pay-as-you-throw system, this pain point may become accentuated and will require even more focus on efficiently designing your transport packaging. So again, the consumer's direct relationship with transport packaging should serve as a sort of leverage point for moving all levels of packaging further up in the design process. And all indications are that e-commerce is showing really no signs of slowing down. Ultimately, what this is leading towards is a convergence of sorts with in-store and online packaging formats. And this slide that I'm showing here is part of a presentation that was given at our 2015 Transpac Forum event, and it does a great job of highlighting factors that are leading to this convergence. So the top part of the chart shows some of the factors that are already driving the convergence. So most importantly, obviously, is the growth in business-to-consumer e-commerce. But there are many other factors at play, like growth of discounters, how will our retail store environments change and develop with interactive and social technologies. Will this enable more functional packaging at the point of sale? We're seeing an urbanization and growth in middle classes that's driving us towards smaller stores and less time for larger shopping trips. New delivery services and technologies, including the use of local vehicles, are coming to market, and consumers are really aware of this potential environmental benefit versus everyone having to get in a car and go shopping for larger items in store. And these are all factors that are going to continue to push increased use of home delivery, e-commerce, and therefore this trend towards universal packaging formats for in-store and online. The lower part of the chart shows the complexity of implementing this harmonized pack for in-store and online, right? There are some products, and these are on the right side of the arrow, that are already packaged in some cases in a harmonized design, or certainly lend more easily to the concept. And as you move left on the arrow, the task becomes more and more difficult for those product types. So this is all hypothetical, and there's no rule for all these categories or even for one product type, but there are many drivers that could be identified that might push them the other way. But these factors will continue to drive brand owners to harmonize in-store and online package design. So the last thing that I'd like to touch on prior to turning this over to Brent for his presentation are the tools available for packaging professionals designing transport packaging for e-commerce. And when we look at designing protective packaging, in order to optimize packaging, we need a firm understanding of the environment and the intensity to which it subjects packaged products. And if the product is so robust that it can withstand the environment on its own, then great, right? No packaging is needed. You can just ship the product. But as I think most of us know, this is rarely the case. Most often, our products need some sort of protection in the form of packaging. If that packaging does not provide enough protection, we get damage. If the packaging provides too much protection, or more protection than required by the environment, then you're overpackaged, and there's an opportunity for cost savings and eliminating some waste. If the package, it meets exactly the intensity of your environment, then that's your just right package, your optimized package. Obviously, this is our goal, and this is what we're aiming for. But it can be a difficult task to achieve. So we need tools to evaluate to create this scenario. In order to apply this concept, there needs to be a proper understanding of what the environment intensity is. And I think as an industry, we've been able to answer some of these questions, but further exploration and study is required. So what tools are currently available and what is being worked on within ISTA to help packaging designers optimize packaging for e-commerce shipments? Well, the first thing is we recently published 2 test protocols focused on Amazon's e-commerce shipping system. The first test focuses on products shipped in their own containers to the consumer by Amazon, or what they refer to as SIOC. And the second focuses on products packaged in an overbox with other products by Amazon for shipment to the consumer. And although these procedures do have Amazon's name on them, they have gone through our ANSI-approved consensus development process for testing standards, so they have been reviewed by our technical divisions and our consensus body. To my knowledge, these are the first 2 e-commerce focused pre-shipment distribution testing procedures available. And I think Brent will touch on these a little bit more in his presentation. Secondly, when we're looking at studying these hazards further, we do have an advocate research and value delivery program with a focus to conduct research and data collection that improves testing and design methodologies to enhance knowledge of new and existing channels. And this group is currently working to rescope and release an RFP to identify common handling processes for all e-commerce channels and transportation modes to develop a recommended method for replicating this channel. The first phase is to identify all current e-commerce product distribution system activities of consumer packaged goods and map each one to show commonality and differences. And this includes all activities, so the repacking, handling, as well as internal and external movements of modes from receipt from original manufacturer to the product through final delivery to the consumer. And you can see all of the members that are involved in our Advocate Valiant Research Delivery Program there on the screen. And then lastly, I want to mention our e-commerce exploratory team. And this is a group that was formed to bring together a diverse group of brand owners, e-retailers, and carriers with the goal of establishing common practices within the e-commerce supply chain. And their goal is to create a best practices document for e-commerce and then use this information as a platform for developing a general simulation test for the e-commerce supply chain. The initial focus for this team is the e-commerce journey starting at packout within an e-retailer fulfillment center through delivery to the end consumer. And part of what they'll do is take a look at the Amazon test procedures that have already been published and look to those to see if there's some commonality and similarities between other e-retailers as well to create an industry general simulation test as we move forward. So with that, I think I'm out of time, but I thank everyone for their time, and I'll turn things over to Brent.
Great. This is Brent Nelson from Amazon, Senior Manager of Packaging within our Global Sustainability Group. So I'm thrilled to be part of this event today, and thanks to everyone who's joining. We're going to go through a presentation today, give you an idea of Amazon fulfillment and talk about the key differences with e-commerce packaging versus brick and mortar. Have a little bit of fun with the presentation, have a few videos today, but first we'll cover the kind of fundamental mind shift needed for packaging and product design in the e-commerce space versus brick and mortar. We'll then take you on a journey through Amazon fulfillment and again highlight why it's so different than the brick and mortar supply chain and its impact on packaging design. And then lastly, I'll dive into how Amazon defines well-designed packaging for e-commerce fulfillment. So, as we think about the fundamental shift that's happening from brick and mortar to e-commerce, there is a real mind shift that's needed in terms of packaging design. If we think about packaging design for the brick and mortar retail shelf versus e-commerce, no longer does size impression of the packaging to stand out to customers amongst the sea of choices on a brick and mortar shelf matter. The expense of designing packaging to catch your eye with glossy, expensive packaging that often is oversized, again, to stand out to the competitive set on a retail shelf, again, is irrelevant in the e-commerce space. So if you think about what happens in the e-commerce detail page, as we call it, I would argue that the detail page communicates to a customer in a far different way than what you rely in a brick and mortar environment where that package is that first moment of truth and needs to stand out. The detail page in an online world, I think, makes the experience much easier for customers because you have an opportunity as a brand owner to communicate and educate to the customer in a far different way, whether it's multiple pictures or videos or the actual narrative that's on the detail page. I think there's a real advantage there. But if you think about the differences, size impression doesn't matter anymore. There's not one product compared to its competitive set. So that right off the bat is an opportunity to reduce waste. often the expensive, glossy secondary packaging designed to communicate to the customer on shelf also doesn't matter. So there's an opportunity to reduce cost. And then finally, packaging that's designed to prevent theft is also irrelevant in the retail space. So, I would argue then that the first moment of truth with packaging for customers in an online world is really at the customer's doorstep. And, thinking of the customer first as we do at Amazon, what is the message that we want to send in that first moment of truth as a customer opens a package on their doorstep? Packaging designed for brick and mortar that cannot survive the single parcel supply chain must be overpacked. And really, customers have no use for the majority of packaging that's sent to them. At Amazon, we obsess over our customers, and with any idea, we always start from the customer and work backwards. So, with this different first moment of truth and packaging that is, predominantly designed for the brick and mortar world, what are the implications as customers shift more and more of their purchasing behavior to online? And as packaging fills up their recycling bins and their waste bins, the question we're asking ourselves is, does that pose a risk to future growth in this channel? Will customers stop ordering products when their recycling bin is filled up? The real question is, what if packaging waste hurts that customer experience? So as we do across our company, we actively solicit feedback from our customers, and we listen to what our customers are saying. And we specifically solicit feedback on packaging. We get millions of feedback per year on packaging. And although we get thousands and thousands of great points of feedback from our customers about their delight around packaging, they also tell us about their pain points. And as you see, a couple of themes here of actual customer feedback here: concern around waste, concern around quality, and our customers expect better from us. So this is really a springboard for us to work with our retailers as well as our own brands to design packaging that reduce waste, gets to the customer undamaged, and provides a high customer experience. So now I'm going to take you through the journey of a package through Amazon fulfillment. And the first schematic you see here is a typical average brick and mortar supply chain. So where products are on the upper left, delivered from our vendors and suppliers to a brick and mortar distribution center, those products are shipped in unitized pallet quantities or master pack quantities that then go from the brick and mortar retailer's distribution center to the store, and then not until it's actually the products are put on the brick and mortar retail shelf are they broken down into individual units. And if you look at that whole supply chain, a package is handled about 5 times. The key there is that the package is shipped throughout that supply chain in a vertical, upright manner. And again, it's not touched individually until it goes on the shelf. If you think about then the e-commerce world and Amazon fulfillment, you have a far more complex supply chain. While we get our products from our vendors in the same way in a palletized manner, when it hits our first distribution point, one of our first fulfillment centers, it is actually broken down into individual units and stowed into inventory. And as you follow that through all the different touch points where that individual product in its primary package is handled in our fulfillment process and on its way to a customer's doorstep, it's a minimum of 20 times that individual product is handled. And in an e-commerce world, there is no top and bottom of an e-commerce package. So although we have make many investments in technology in our fulfillment centers to minimize the impact of shock and vibration on a product and a package, it is a more aggressive environment.
Hey, Brent?
Yes.
Hey, I think you're sharing the wrong screen. It's got the presenter view on, so it's not full screen. You may need to go to your other monitor, and then it'll be full screen for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so here's a video that will actually show you that fulfillment process. Oops. So you're still seeing the presentation mode, is that right?
Yeah, you need to share whatever screen it's displaying on there.
Okay. Let's show the video in this. So this is going to walk you through each step of the journey here through our fulfillment process. So these are our ISDs where we bring product in from our vendors. And often the problems with package integrity start right at inbound. So you see the concept of single piece flow here as soon as we receive the products. This is what we call our decant process, where individual items are broken down. If a product is too fragile, this is a glass, or you see liquids, oftentimes we'll have to push it over to a separate process called prep, where we apply additional packaging to the product, which is something that our customers and us as Amazon do not want to do. And then the individual products go from our IXDs to our fulfillment center network. And they're transported in, individual totes that you see here. This is an example of our Amazon robotics. So this is when the product comes into the FC, it is scanned and then actually put into an inventory position throughout our fulfillment center in one of our Amazon robotic inventory. So this then starts the customer fulfillment process. And that same product that was stowed in our facility and inventory is actually brought to an Amazon associate and picked for delivery. Again, as you see, individual items are handled. And then our pack associates take the individual products if they require to be put into an Amazon overbox, if they're not designed to be able to ship on their own, it's packed off and continue on the journey to the customer. So this is a view of our outbound area within our fulfillment center. And individual packages are loaded into trucks and then move from our fulfillment centers to our sort centers, where we aggregate products into 2 zip codes. Those products are unloaded from the trucks. Of course, you see operators moving faster speed. I sped up the video. There you see a Pampers box that was designed to be able to ship on its own and tested and certified. And then it moves off to our carrier partners and a journey on the last mile to our customer's doorstep. So, great. Well, hopefully that video give you a good idea of our fulfillment process. All right, so next we'll talk about how we at Amazon define good e-commerce packaging. So our really 4 key tenets. First and foremost, we want to have packaging that's designed to protect against damage. So obviously, delivering a damaged product to a customer's doorstep is something we try to avoid. And if you think about the sustainability impact, if we damage a product on the way to the customer, we're going to make it right and actually send them a replacement. When you think about then, you're creating multiple journeys of a product to a customer if it doesn't get there in good shape on the first journey. We want to design packaging that is designed to reduce waste. So minimize the error that we ship in our products, and ideally packaging is designed to ship on its own without excess packaging. We want to design packaging that uses materials that are fully curbside recyclable, and then last but not least is we want packaging that's easy to open for our customers. So some of you may be familiar with one of our packaging standards that I'll talk about in a minute, but our gold standard of Amazon certified packaging is frustration-free packaging, and I'm going to give you a fun little video here to illustrate the difference of brick and mortar design retail packaging versus is frustration-free. So this is the same product. So great. I think that gives just a perfect example of how to rethink packaging in an e-commerce world. Fisher Price, one of our strategic vendors, did a great job in rethinking a package that was designed for brick and mortar with a number of redundancies to prevent theft and really oversized to stand out on the shelf into a right-sized, minimized package, fully recyclable and ready to play, as we call it. So this slide shows our 3 certified packaging standards here, starting with the gold standard of FFP, or frustration-free packaging. And we say that FFP is optimized for both customer experience and sustainability. So the tenets of frustration-free packaging is that it must be made of 100% curbside recyclable packaging materials, easy to open, right-sized and minimal packaging, and ships without the need of an Amazon overbox. It's capable of shipping in its own container, and we are members of ISTA, and our certification tiers are all based on the ISTA certified test methods that AJ talked about. So FFP is tested and certified using the ISTA 6 Amazon SIOC test. Kind of one level down from that is what we call SIOC, or ship and own container. There are a number of products that we sell that are highly fragile, that require the use of packaging materials like expanded polystyrene or other foams to prevent damage. That's great. We want to prevent damage, but those materials are not fully curbside recyclable today. So that could certify for our second tier, which is SIOC. And then lastly, our third certification tier is new this year, called PFP, or prep-free packaging. So this is for any item that doesn't meet the minimum dimensions to be able to ship SIOC or FFP, and often consumable products like liquid products fall into this category. And PFP is actually where no prep is required for the packaging, and this uses the Amazon 6, ISTA 6 Amazon Overbox test. So those are the 3 tiers that we look at, and the goal and the expectation as we work with all of our vendor partners is that we optimize their current packaging and moving forward, design all packaging to be compliant with one of these 3 certification tiers. So if anybody's interested on the webinar today to learn more about our certification tiers and our guidelines, I'm happy to provide more detail and even the actual certification guidelines. Happy to share that. A quick case study here to show you this in action. This is a great example of moving to frustration-free packaging. Mrs. Meyer's clean dish soap. The 3-pack is the most common size here for this product, and as you see on the left, each individual bottle required Amazon to actually prep that and put it in a bag to prevent further damage if the product would leak. And then those products were put into an Amazon overbox with additional dunnage to protect them from getting damaged and shipped to the customer. The vendor actually moved forward and actually designed a frustration-free packaging version of this that eliminates the need for prep. So the 3 bottles are actually packed in a right-sized corrugated box. There's a small corrugated insert on top and a divider. This package passed the ISTA 6 SIOC method. Significant reduction in the amount of air that's shipped to our customers, the amount of packaging material and number of components. So our customers love frustration-free packaging, and from a sustainability standpoint, it's certainly the right direction that we want to see all products move in. So although the journey is just beginning for Amazon and working with our vendor partners and brands that sell through us, the efforts are starting to make a difference. So FFP was introduced in 2008 by our founder, Jeff Bezos, with only 19 products. Now we have almost 670,000 frustration-free packaging products certified and shipping globally. In 2015, through these certification programs, we eliminated over 72 million oversized boxes, saving almost 50,000 tons of corrugate, enough to fill 24,000 53-foot trailers of packaging materials. And if you look at FFP and SIOC, our two certification tiers, we've got almost 1.1 million products that are certified FFP or SIOC. So there's a long way to go, but it's starting to make a difference. And with that, I'll turn it back over to our moderator.
Okay. Thank you very much, AJ and Brent. Excellent presentation, and I thought it was really interesting, those figures you gave right at the very end, Brent, about the material costs and usage savings. Impressive indeed. So we are at the Q&A portion, and we've got about 14 minutes here. And do please type any questions you have in that little questions box you see on your screen. And I see we've got a number of them coming in, so let's get right to it. This one's for Brent, I guess. You mentioned the 20-plus touch points from the time of start to finish for I guess that's a typical product at Amazon. Over what period of time do all those touch points occur, and how do they range in intensity, and what does that mean for a specific package?
So yeah, it's a typical process for any product that's sold with Amazon. You know, we sell over 1 billion different products. We have a couple different types of fulfillment centers depending on the size of the product. One type of fulfillment center is called a sort facility, and those are typically items that are under 50 pounds and of a certain dimension. We also sell the largest thing you can think of, furniture, large, heavy, bulky items, and those go through what's called a non-sort facility. All very similar process. The level of automation that we have in our sort FCs for smaller products certainly allows the product to move through the fulfillment process a bit faster. But the process, you know, the majority of those 20 points of touches gets the product into inventory, and when a customer fulfills an order, the outbound process happens very quickly. Majority of our orders are 2-day delivery or less, and I think a lot of people on the webinar know that we're trying to move product to our customers faster and faster. So hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, I think so. Yep. AJ, one for you, and I forget what this was specifically referring to, but someone asked, are you saying that tests like Sam's Club 6 are distribution-based and cover that distribution cycle?
Yeah, well, the 6 Sam's Club test was a study, was created based off of a study of that specific distribution environment in partnership with Walmart and Sam's Club. So yeah, the 6 Sam's Club test is specific to the Sam's Club shipping environment and that club store type of a setup. It's a general simulation test for that environment.
Okay. And then a related question, AJ, is the Project 6 complete with the standardized testing details, or is it under development? For the Amazon tests? The ISTA Project 6.
Our 6 series has a number of test protocols housed within it. The 2 new 6 series tests that were developed along with Amazon are fully published at this point, so they're available through our website. So yeah, the full details are published, if that's the protocol they're referring to.
Okay. I guess this is one that either of you could answer. The environment or the intensity does not stay constant, but in the design of the package, did you not mention, you didn't mention that. So is designing to the most intense situation and over-design, or is it feasible?
You know, typically the approach we've taken as an association is in development of our general simulation tests. We want to replicate the higher end of what you could consider normal handling. So certainly there are going to be situations where there's some sort of abnormal handling that occurs, and it can trigger a damage situation with your packaged product. And you typically don't want to package around that type of a scenario, because you will be overpackaged and it could be wasteful, and your cost is going to be inflated. But you do want to be able to withstand what's seen as normal handling, and then potentially the higher end of normal handling in your given environment. And we can determine a lot of what that looks like through observation as well as data collection and data recorders.
You know, I just would add to that. I mean, we strive for zero defects and zero damage, but I think any package that it tries to strive towards zero damage in many respects is probably overpackaged, as AJ said. So some significant shock and vibration events are expected, and we want to balance cost for our vendors as well as Amazon, without having to overpackage products to eliminate even that worst case environment. So I think the ISTA test methods are certainly challenging the product for the aggressive part of the curve. But I don't think by any means is it a test that simulates the absolute worst case environment. I think it's a realistic environment. Okay.
And for you, Brent, a follow-up question. You talked a little bit about damage and return and how Amazon handles that. Can you at all talk about or characterize the damage or return rate at Amazon, whether that's decreasing? Can you characterize that at all?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into specific rates, but I would say we have a very thorough process as products are sent back to us, identified by our customers as damaged, and we put it through a very thorough review process when it comes back to understand the root cause of why it was damaged. And we actually have a whole section on our website called Warehouse Deals. So if products go through the rigorous grading process and are deemed saleable, we certainly identify that this is an item that came back and was returned to Amazon, and often it's heavily discounted on our site, but we've graded it as saleable to our customers. But we see a wide range of damage across the different products that we sell. So there's no one rate that I could give you. Certainly, it's a big commitment for Amazon to be reducing damages that we see.
Okay, fair enough. Another question for Brent: are tamper-evident features important for Amazon products?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the product. So any food products that there is a safety concern for our customers, just as particularly regulated products, the same tamper evidency would be required for us. The packaging materials that we use to ship products, the type of tape that we use to seal our cases, is tamper evident by nature of its design. So.
Okay. Several people asked this, and I don't remember where in the presentation it was, but there was a mention of the acronym IXD. What does that mean?
That is an inbound cross-dock. So that is the first step. Not all products go through our inbound cross-docks, but more and more we're moving towards kind of a preliminary fulfillment center model where products are brought into this first type of fulfillment center, and then Actually, then it's distributed to our RFCs, our fulfillment centers, from the inbound cross-dock.
Okay. A couple questions here regarding about inbounding of products at Amazon, Brent. A couple people mentioned that they noted the small parcel carrier inbound. They were wondering how much of that is due to small parcel carrier or otherwise.
Not sure exactly the term that's being asked there. We have a pretty equivalent mix of products coming directly from vendors as well as third-party sellers. So both are important parts of our business. So oftentimes product coming from our vendors will be in pallet quantities or larger quantities. Versus our third-party sellers and resellers will come in smaller parcel deliveries to Amazon. So both are important parts of our business model.
Okay. Another question for you, Brent, regarding oversized items. What do you do with them? This attendee says many of our items are oversized, and I would like to understand how the distribution will change.
We actually really try to evaluate every product when it comes into our catalog or our selection on its kind of fit for use and whether or not it can ship on its own. We have very detailed procedures in our fulfillment centers for prepping products that need additional packaging, which is of course something we don't want to do. We'd like products to come in and be ready to ship once they're ordered without any additional touches or packaging materials. But we evaluate every product in our portfolio to understand if additional packaging is required, and we've got the processes and kind of specifications in our fulfillment network to package something specially if it needs it, particularly large, heavy, bulky items if they need extra protection.
Okay. And can you address what percentage of packages are certified to ship without overpacking?
I'm not going to comment on that at this point, but it's growing every day.
Okay, that's fair enough. Have you considered on-demand corrugated machinery that can produce boxes to the exact size needed without any dunnage?
Certainly technologies like that are of interest to Amazon, and we're on a multi-year journey to not only trying to drive upstream with our vendors and sellers to design packaging that's right sized coming in our door, but of course we have a mix, an infinite combination of products that can be either shipped individually or aggregated together in what we call a multi-item shipment. So not only are we working upstream with vendors and sellers to improve, but we're also internally looking at multiple technologies to try to reduce in a multi-item order the amount of materials that we send out.
Okay. And where can people find details on complying and obtaining Amazon packaging certifying process?
Yeah, great. I mentioned during my presentation that we have Amazon certified packaging guidelines, and I think we can follow up, and I'm happy to provide those guidelines to anybody that's interested. So that goes into great detail, each of the 3 certification tiers, and really how to design packaging to comply with our certification guidelines.
Okay. So Brent, if anybody wanted to get information on that, is it okay if they email you directly? I mean, do you want to share that, or how do you want to do that?
I'm happy to actually send that to you. So if anybody from your membership wants a copy of that, I'd be happy to have you send that on.
Okay. And for those on the line, you can reach me at jimg@iopp.org. Okay, so we're at the end of our hour, and any quick wrap up final thoughts from either of you?
Well,
Go ahead, Brett.
I just want to say I really enjoyed having the microphone here to present to everybody, and we're all going to have to work together here to delight our collective customer base, and excited for the opportunity to partner with any of you who are on the call today to develop great packaging solutions.
Yeah, really the same on our end too, where I think we've got some good momentum within our association and our membership on tackling how do we package for e-commerce, and we're excited about continuing the push to develop tools and test procedures that will help people efficiently design for this type of an environment. So it was a pleasure having everybody's time today, and we look forward to working with everybody moving forward.
Fantastic. So anybody that has specific questions for AJ, you can certainly reach him at the International Safe Transit Association at ISTA.org. And any specific follow-up questions for Brent, I know we had a lot more questions we simply didn't have time for today. If you can just email me at jimg@iopp.org, I'll make sure that they get passed along to Brent. So I appreciate both of your time today. Excellent webinar and high attendance today. So again, for the IOPP Premium and Elite members on the line, the rebroadcast of this presentation will be available by using your member login at IOPP.org. And for ISTA members on the line, please contact the ISTA staff for a link to the rebroadcast. So in January, IOPP will return with another webinar to coincide with our January focus on contract packaging. And IOPP and the Contract Packaging Association are working out the details, so we should have something to announce in terms of topic, time, and date very shortly. So be looking in your inbox and at IOPP.org for those details. So thanks again for attending today's presentation. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you again in 2017. So long for now.